Welcome to Empowered by AI. I'm Michelle Nutsi Silva. This podcast is for women building what's next and using AI with intention. In Season 6, you'll hear from founders, educators, creatives, and builders who are actually using AI to think better, work smarter, and move with intention. We're learning from conversations about readiness, literacy, and taking action, because every episode gives you ideas you can use immediately. Let's get into it. Devika and I have managed to connect. I'm very excited about this. Devika, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be on your podcast, Michelle. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm excited to have you. I love what we're going to talk about today. Before we dive into somographic learning, I want you to be able to introduce yourself to everyone else so they can get a sense of who you are. And then we'll dive right in, okay? Do you want to go ahead and take a moment to let us know a little bit more about you?
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. I'm Devika Toprani. The best way to introduce myself is I'm born in Oman. I'm brought up in Dubai. I have studied further in India, and now I'm based in the United States. I have a foundation in psychology and a master's degree in management and quantitative sciences from University of Illinois. I've also developed an IP-protected framework called sonographic learning. And yeah, I'm just going to talk more about that today.
Awesome. She knows a thing or two because she's done a thing or two. Global experience coming our way. All right. Devika, I would love it. Check and see if you can share your screen, if that works out okay. And then we're going to be learning all about somographic learning. So, for people who have never heard this term before, what is somographic learning and what kind of problem is this solving when you developed this approach?
Soma is the lived, felt body experience that influences how learning forms today. I'm a millennial. I have learned in the early 2000s, and learning today is very different. I have just completed my master's degree from University of Illinois, and that's when I had a very nice but different experience where I studied with Gen Z. And that's when I realized that things are moving a little too fast for Gen Z. The problem that I'm trying to solve is that here's some data on it. Researchers found that AI can impact 11.7% of US workforce today. And Indian surveys have also showed that 51% of Gen Z question the value of their college degree. And this is not something I'm personally saying, it's actually stats. But the problem that I'm trying to resolve is, are students actually struggling to learn today the way we were learning back in the early 2000s? That's the question that strikes me because during my master's program, I would see learners procrastinate and prioritize speed over understanding. And that's what somographic learning resolves today. It slows down the brain so that the brain can understand, knowledge can be retained, and then you move to AI, where AI refines the topic. So, I'm going to be explaining why do students get overwhelmed with dense text? Why do we need somographic learning in the first place? uh, Students get overwhelmed because they're just given a lot of textbooks, a lot of PDF textbooks today, and they're all black and white. They don't feel like learning. And I'm also talking from the sense of myself as a learner who's just graduated with a master's degree, as somebody who has a psychology background and who's entering masters of quantitative sciences. I need a base of the topic. I need a foundation, like a pre-clarity layer before I jump into formulas and AI and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I don't do that, then I'm going to procrastinate. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how the human mind works, right? And if you directly jump to text, AI, terms, then you're going to get confused. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to be low on confidence. And you might just succumb to groupthink and over reliance on AI. So it's a huge, like a vicious cycle that we are dealing with out here. And today we have reels, we have social media. Back in the 2000s, when I was learning, we did not have that. I had my
Mhm.
friends whom I would struggle and sit for hours working on projects because we did not know the answer. Then
Yeah,
through AI.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No problem. You can tell me. Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering because I see this in my educational environment. The AI problem is that students are jumping to it, right? And so they are getting that textbook that, as you say, it's all black and white, it's overwhelming. They don't necessarily understand it. The terminology is over their heads, and they can just go to AI and get the output that they think the teacher wants. So, what are you seeing go wrong when people use AI too early in the learning process? Like before they've even formed their own understanding, they're there because they're just looking for that
Yes.
output. So, what do you see going wrong with that?
I see that they don't build their understanding first because they aim for the perfect answer. Oh, I need these marks. I'm going to get the perfect answer, get that grade. But what about the struggle of real life understanding, problem solving, critical thinking skills? And that's where we are missing out. That's where we need the pre clarity layer as a scaffold that leads us to AI. Because AI will then refine our original soul made ideas, right? In terms of soul made, a philosophy, personal philosophy, I don't know if this might resonate or not. I believe that learning is not AI made, it is soul made. Your ideas need to generate from you first. And that's what we are missing out. That's what I see going wrong with AI today. The ideas need to come from you, not AI. The biggest reason why I built sonographic learning today.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And one more thing is the information in the world today is plenty. It's never ending. But what about the sense making capacity of humans? Reels are 3 seconds long. Textbooks are 150 pages long. So there's a difference out there that there's a understanding gap that needs to be resolved. And this is not something that has happened for the first time in the history of education. If we look back to the 90s, we had the calculators,
Mm-hmm.
and this had created a big problem then. But the difference is that history is not only repeating itself now, it is affecting our basic thinking and reliance. That's where things are getting a little more complicated in terms of learning.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and one more thing, we have platforms like Substack today. I'm
Mm-hmm.
also on Substack. I have this account called Soulful Learning with AI. But why is Substack gaining so much traction? It's because 55% of Gen Z is rejecting too perfect AI responses. They need that soul-made effort. They need that understanding. They're craving for that. And why are we taking that away from the learning process?
Mm-hmm. Right.
That is where I think we need learning by doing, learning by struggling before refining. So that's where I'm coming from.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. And somographic learning focuses on the attempt, map, refine approach, where the learner attempts the tasks. Then, through their felt sense, because they are drawing it out, they are thinking of it through their lived experiences. They are mapping it out. What if the first attempt is not right while mapping? No, I'll do it again. I have to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
during this process, AI is observing their understanding through an AI enabled camera. We have our own laptops today, we work on it. But do professors know whether we are using AI for our answers or not. We have plagiarism detectors, but they're not that reliable today. But sonographic learning is drawing, but then we have an AI enabled camera that is recording the learner's drawing, the movements, the rhythm. And that is also a standard for academic integrity today, where this is integrated into learning management platforms so that
Mm-hmm.
parents, professors, they're all aware how much the learners put in effort, right? Like how much time has been put into it.
Yeah, and you're emphasizing that effort could be something as fun as doodling or drawing or visual mapping. And so you're suggesting that comes before using AI, right?
Yes,
So
that comes before.
uh-huh, why does
Yeah.
externalizing that thinking process, why does that matter so much? And what changes if we skip it?
This AI part would be later. And if we skip it, then learners will not get that basic understanding that they're supposed to. They will not get interested in the topic. They will rely on groupthink. They will rely on their friends who might not know the right answer to copy and give the right answer. But that too is happening now. How can we stop that? How can we make them actually learn? I'll give an example. What if this approach, sonographic learning, drawing before getting into the main textbooks and traditional education, is happening with med students? Suppose med students, if they use sonographic learning, they're actually learning. They're actually grasping how things will work out, how the
Mm-hmm.
actual concept works, how the heart works. Just an example. That's a basic topic. They're drawing
Mm-hmm.
the heart, or maybe they're labeling it out. It doesn't have to be that the drawing has to be perfect, but it's just labeling it out, mapping things out, trying to make sense of it. Even if it's not the right answer for the first time, no, that's how you learn. Imperfection makes perfection. That's there. But then, if when they draw the heart, when they graduate from medical school, they can actually help and use those skills to save somebody else's heart, right? But what if during their med ed process, when they're doing their residency or whatever, they use AI to find the answer? Are they gaining that knowledge? Will they be able to help the patients in real life after completing the answers and getting the perfect answer there?
Right,
Practical
chances are
skills,
slim.
yes. And to prevent those kind of things happening in the future, we
Mm-hmm.
want a way, a scaffold that makes them interested and brings real understanding.
Yeah.
And
So
what I described, I just hope that doesn't happen. But just saying that could happen if we don't have some approaches like this.
So once a learner has visualized their understanding, how should AI be used next?
AI has to be used to refine the process as a follower.
Okay.
Now, at this point, the learner has already got conceptual clarity, right? Because the first learning by doing process is complete. The learner knows what is black, white, and gray. That's when AI comes in, when there is advanced knowledge to be learned or refined. Okay, the learner has this idea. This is how the heart works. Now, what are the current trends that are coming up? And how
Mm-hmm.
can the heart work better?
More of an
Most
iteration
countries.
process
Yes,
at that point.
iteration process. And professors can use this approach when they can use it anywhere, like whether they want to use it with their assignments, projects, teamwork, anywhere. It's not as
Mm-hmm.
if it's specific to one domain or it's not restricted. I also believe that the shape emotion grammar, which I have created, is a very important aspect of this approach. I have researched that circle represents safety. We use
Hmm.
mindfulness today. There's the attachment theory. for circle to represent safety. There are different aspects. There's a lot more in my presentation, but a square can represent structure, schema theory, cognitive framing. There are these different ways in which we think of cues and symbols, right? And that's how we can understand through lived experiences. Like a spiral can be used for learning and growth. Triangle can be used for activation, like Maslow's hierarchy of learning, right? So there are these different ways we can incorporate in our learning process to make it feel more human. Circle can be safety, a boundary can be structure, arrows can show change, transformation, movement. So, yeah, there are many ways to do things. This approach can also be used in therapeutic practices. It can be used to show anger to patients in therapy settings. In fact, I did have a therapist draw anger based on my reference diagram that I showed. But that's not the only thing. The surprising part is she also drew it for sadness without my reference image, which shows that it's pattern recognition, it's understanding, it's reflection, learning by doing. And this approach can be applied to STEM subjects, mathematics, psychology, TBT, CBT theories, healthcare, medicine, as I mentioned, the MedEd example, business strategy, therapy, and even for organizational strategy, HR, managing team management, onboarding, research. So there are many different ways sonographic learning can be used. There are some more examples in my presentation, but yeah, we can go through them a little later, however that works. This also aligns with Gartner's prediction 2026, which is atrophy of critical thinking is a big challenge today. Gartner predicts that 50% of organizations will require AI-free assessments because workforce and learners are relying too much on AI. And the solution could be sonographic framework as a cognitive safeguard because it brings about independence in thinking, less reliance on AI, no automation bias, human in the loop learning, and psychological safety in a tech heavy world. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this is aligning with Gartner's prediction too. And one more thing I'd like to mention that sonographic learning is not art therapy in the sense it is a scaffold that leads to learning. That what learning is today, it's also not replacing the current learning practices. It is just a scaffold before current
Mm-hmm.
practices. So it's not like it's a completely different approach where it's extra work for professors. No, it's just the first class where you introduce the topic, you just get them to understand it and then refine it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
also not a replacement for the actual textbooks or theory. No, it is not that. It is not replacing that at all. It is not AI generated understanding. AI comes later. AI is a follower. It mirrors the learner's actual understanding. And I'm always open to refinements if there's anything. It's under construction. It's not completely set in stone as
Yeah.
of today. Yeah.
Well, if we're talking to someone who doesn't feel like they're necessarily a drawer, they don't doodle, that's not how they think, how do we help them incorporate this so they can get the most out of their iterations with AI?
There are several people who don't like drawing, but if you go back to what I said about the shape emotion grammar, and that's the reason I created it, everybody can draw a circle. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
you have to be Picasso to draw that. These are universal symbols: a square, a
Mm-hmm.
triangle, a
Right.
spiral.
These are
So these are
basic
all
shapes, right?
mind mapping shapes, yes. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not as if you have to draw like you have to be the best artist in the room. No, art is not the focus out here, learning and understanding is. Even if you
Mm-hmm.
scribble a million times, you know that answer was not right. Your mind will think that, oh, what is the right answer? That's how
Hmm.
it is. Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
process, right? It's not just the art,
Process.
it's the process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, Devika, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much. If someone wants to connect with you to learn a little bit more about this, where would they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn, honey. I'm also on Substack as Soulful Learning with AI. And I also have an Instagram account called Doodles by Devika. And my goal in life is to make learning not AI made, soul made.
I love it. I love it. Devika, thank you so much for turning me on to this. This absolutely resonates with me. I love this and I appreciate you and I appreciate the time you've taken to help us understand this a little bit better because I think if we can get some of that initial thinking out, we can avoid that AI slop output focus. We can really tune into the power of iteration with AI as a co-constructor, not just a receiver or a consumer.
Totally. I also wanted to share one more thing.
Of
A
course.
parent on Substack reached out to me a few days ago and shared that I love sonographic learning. I'm also worried about my 6-year-old child's that my child knows what AI is today. I don't want that person to get dependent on it.
Yep.
So I said, yes, that's a huge problem today. And that's what we are aiming to resolve. Thank you for reaching out. The
Mm-hmm.
parent was so happy. He wanted to try out some of the sonographic learning approaches with his kid. I
Mm-hmm.
also mentioned to him, I clarified, in fact, that this is for institutions today. It is not for somebody who is a self starter, a self learner. It is for those who need that struggle, need to iterate. That's the difference. It's not for somebody who can learn through YouTube videos, who already has the motivation to learn. It's for
Yeah.
those who need that motivation to learn, right?
It's giving them another avenue into it.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah, that's
you.
about it. And
I
I'm also
appreciate
open
it.
to, yeah, I'm also open to strategic collaborations and pilots to get more knowledge on the learner outcomes for this approach. So I'd encourage educators and institutions to reach out to me if that's something they resonate with.
I love it. All right, we're sending people your way. Thank you, Devika. It has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me for this.
You've been listening to Empowered by AI, and I'm your host, Michelle Muncy Silva. If something from this episode clicked, don't let it stop here. Take one idea and try it out this week. And if you want to go deeper, head over to the Empowered by AI, the Slay Effect YouTube channel, where you can watch demos and walkthroughs from our guests today and so many others. Like, subscribe, and join us there so you don't miss out on what's coming next. All the links and resources are in the show notes. I'll see you next time.